It was just really exciting. In fact, it was thrilling because, first of all, the numbers of people, first thing on a Saturday morning of conference, was unbelievable. And secondly, because there's obviously a real hunger for understanding what's going on in the economy and for being able to articulate it. Well, my key take-home message is that the economy is currently very unstable, very unbalanced. We have very high levels of debt, private and public debt, and we shouldn't be complacent about that. The fact that we have these imbalances is an indication of what happens when you put the anarchic finance sector, the invisible hand, in control not just of domestic economies, but of the global economy. We end up with anarchy and with massive imbalances. And I want to argue that really we shouldn't be endorsing imbalances. We shouldn't be calling for more debt. We should be calling for more income. And we make the point that to manage the nation's budget, it's absolutely essential not to cut the nation's income. And what we've been doing for 10 years is cutting the nation's income via austerity. And that's what they've been doing in Europe. And as a result, we've got these massive imbalances. A, we've ensured that wages, or we, the government, policymakers have ensured that wages have remained low in real terms, and B, the social wages being slashed. That's cutting the nation's income, and that leads to imbalances. So the main message is Labour has to increase the nation's income, and the best way to do that is with good quality jobs that pay well and generate tax revenues for balancing the budget. We have already developed a plan. We're calling it 30 by 30. We know that 30 million houses in Britain have to be retrofitted to make them more energy efficient tomorrow, right? And by the 2030, we need to have retrofitted all property in Britain. And we think there's about 30 million properties, right? And it is work we can do tomorrow because it takes building workers, plumbers, electricians, engineers, architects, and we've got them. We may have to train more. We don't have to wait for foreign investment. We don't have to wait for somebody else to do it. We can do it tomorrow. So we'll start on that program. And then, of course, we have to transform our energy system, our transport system, and our land use system. And all of that might take longer and more money. So one of the stories I told today, which I'm quite fond of, is that I don't believe we can finance this through carbon taxes. And I told the story about Ken Livingstone in the 90s introducing the congestion charge in London. And when he did, the left was up in arms, oh, you're going to lose the election, but it'll be very unpopular. On the same day that he introduced the congestion charge, he put 300 new buses on the streets of London. So I'm arguing a Labour government has to front-load investment to change our systems before we think about taxing people. Under Ken, people could get into their buses and get around London. They didn't complain about the congestion charge. In France, the Gilets jaunes, the man driving around in his little white van hasn't got an alternative, and you're clobbering him with a tax. And I'm arguing that's unacceptable. I think we just need to have higher wages across the board, basically. And that means the state has to pay higher wages. I'm particularly keen that we should end the discrimination between men and government spending on blokes, men, and government spending on women. So women do care work, which comes under what's called the revenue budget of the government, and blokes work on big construction sites, just to generalize massively. And that's called investment in infrastructure. I want us to be talking about building care and education, and all of those things that women do is a way of building social and human, for the lack of a better word, capital. I want John McDonnell's new budget to be so structured that we're thinking of investment in people as much as important as investment in railway lines and buildings and so on. Because I don't believe a British government can do anything until we transform the international system. And, it's hard to think about how to transform that system when we know how powerful the 1% are, the BlackRocks of this world, the hedge funds, the private equity firms. But I have to say, and this is what I say in the book, is very soon we're going to experience a big shuddering shock, right? It could be a climate breakdown shock. It could be the flooding of a whole city based close to the sea. It could be a war. Trade wars, as we know, lead to real wars. But thirdly, it could be another financial breakdown. And this last week, we've seen massive volatility in the American capital markets. Now, it's complicated, the story, but we don't need that kind of instability and volatility. We get that when we allow the anarchic hand of the free market to govern our economies. So one of the things we have to think about is the urgent transformation of the international system. This is why I love the story of the New Deal, right? Because on the night that he was inaugurated, President Roosevelt dismantled the privatized, globalized financial system of the day. It was called the gold standard. And on the night he was inaugurated, he went back to the White House and he said, I want the banks to hand over their gold tomorrow. I'm no longer going to measure the economy in terms of bars of gold. And his staff said to him, well, you can't do that because tomorrow is a Sunday, it's a holy day. You're going to have to wait till Monday. So on the Monday he closed the banks and he said, hand over your gold. And by doing that overnight, it took a bit of time, of course, for it to take effect, but overnight, he put the government in the driving seat of the economy and he put Wall Street in the back seat. And that's what I want us to do, a Labour government to understand that has to happen for democratic as well as for economic and financial reasons. Taking charge of the economy. It's so hard for the government to take charge of the economy on our behalf when it's being run by invisible actors out there in the financial stratosphere. They can't be our government because we don't vote for them. We never elected them. They're not accountable. We want to take away their power. I tell you how. A progressive movement has to exercise discipline, right? We can't go floundering around attacking each other, and we can't go around without a public relations media strategy. At the moment, we're just, letting everything hang loose, and that's crazy. We need to get our messaging right, we need to be disciplined about it, and we need to unite. And those MPs on the right of the party that are deliberately disrupting our unity and getting a lot of publicity for it because the media can't believe their luck, they have to be pulled in line, really. And, I just want our leadership to get tough and to understand that this is a tough thing we're asking for. We need that kind of discipline. But if a political party wants to win power as opposed to going around being an activist, then it has to be more disciplined than we are at the moment. I want him to be confident that in massive investment in the economy to generate good jobs that will generate income and tax revenue is entirely affordable and doable, and they should have the confidence to do it.
Brilliant. Ann Pettifor, thank you very much.
Pleasure.